If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? Thank you so much for joining the chat. Sorry to keep you guys waiting today. It was a little bit hectic for me today. I also needed to just get something to eat. Man, it was a long day of recovery after Thanksgiving. I hope you guys enjoyed your turkey and trimmings and everything else as much as I did. It was absolutely delicious at my place. I also hope that you guys got as many delicious drinks in you as I did. But let's just get to the point here. Conor McGregor set to return versus Cowboy Cerrone at UFC 246. Finally, the Mystic Mac is coming back, and it's been long awaited. We've been waiting for Conor McGregor to get back into the octagon for over a year. It looks like it's going down January 18th at UFC 246. And I say it looks like it's going down because there's always the possibility that Conor McGregor and Cowboy don't fight, because it looks like even though Conor signed the contract for the fight and Cerrone signed a new deal with the UFC, I have yet to hear that Cerrone actually put the pen to paper as far as his contract versus McGregor goes, although he's agreed verbally. So I believe it's about 99% chance that it's going to happen. But, there's always that if. You always got to have a little bit of doubt when it comes to the fight game. You never know. Maybe somebody wants more money or something. So until I confirm that Cowboys put the pen to paper, then, who knows what the heck's going on. And we can't say for sure. But yeah, it looks like it's happening. And I actually think it's a really fun fight. And the reason I think it's a fun fight is because they're both strikers. I do think this greatly favors McGregor. But they're both strikers. I think McGregor is more explosive. I do think Cowboy has more in the tank as far as cardio goes. Also, they're both coming off losses. They're both coming on pretty devastating losses as well to their careers, where they were both sort of finished. It's going to happen, allegedly, in a new weight class or one that he's not really that used to at 170 pounds for Conor McGregor. But, it's a fun fight. It's two strikers. They're going to be going at it. They've, both coming off losses. McGregor's been out the game for a minute. It's going to be good to see where he's at. I think this is a good barometer to see where he's at as far as his conditioning and as far as his form goes. I mean, he hasn't been in since October of 2018 when he lost to Khabib. So just an interesting fight all around. I really appreciate you guys joining the chat. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, the bell notification icon below. We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. We talk about combat sports. And I just thought the most interesting story today was this McGregor versus Cerrone fight allegedly getting made. So let's see what some of the people in the chat are saying. Excuse me, it's gotten cold here, and I'm not really used to the cold like that. It kind of messes with me a little bit, but we'll get through it. Muay Thai 23 says Donald's gonna get put on standby. I'm curious as to what he means by standby. I have a feeling it's not something good, but I do see this fight definitely favoring Conor McGregor. He's definitely the sharper, more accurate striker, although, Cowboy can bang too. But I just see this fight greatly favoring Conor McGregor. He's got a slightly longer reach. He's a more athletic guy. He's had great experience, but of course Cowboy's had a ton of experience as well. But I think it's a fun comeback fight. Two guys that are willing to throw down anytime, any place. And that's what it's all about. Marco Martinez says, this is a great fight, But Justin Gaethje earned this fight and was completely skipped over. Both are action fighters that fans love. Maybe Cowboy's a little more popular, but it's close. Marco, I don't think it's a good idea for the UFC to put Conor McGregor in there with Justin Gaethje at this time, because Gaethje is absolutely surging, reinvented himself as a fighter, and, coming off the knockout win, and just he's been active and been looking great. Whereas, Cowboy's been active, but he's taken a couple losses, and after McGregor being out of the ring it'll be almost, like a year and a half, a year and 3 months by the time McGregor gets back in there if they fight in January. I think it's a more fair fight to make. I think we need to see where Conor's at is probably what the UFC is thinking before putting him in there with a monster like Gaethje. Marco Martinez says, Dana and Conor's team picked this fight because they think Cowboy is vulnerable. Absolutely. Absolutely. But, McGregor might be vulnerable, right? I mean, we just don't know where he's at right now. He's been sipping whiskey and punching old people for a couple years. So we don't know where he's at, and he's absolutely entertaining, a fantastic fighter for the sport. I'm really excited to see him get back in there. But, when you've been out the game for a year, and it's going to be about a year and 3 months by the time he gets back in there, when you've been out that long, you can't just rush in there with a contender like Gaethje. I think it's smart and it's fair for him to fight a guy like Cowboy Cerrone, who's also coming off a couple of losses, one being sort of controversial, a stoppage, and the last one being to Gaethje. So I think it's fair to kind of see where he's at. Cerrone has been doing well in his past few fights, despite those couple losses. I mean, he looked pretty good against Ferguson in the first, round of that fight. And obviously he got clipped by Gaethje, but, that's something that can happen. But he was looking good before that Ferguson fight, especially, man. So, I think it's a fair fight. Calculated Risk says, what's up, y'all? Cowboys too slow for Conor. I agree with that. I think there's a lot to be said for athleticism and especially speed when it comes to combat sports. And that's the reason I picked Masvidal over Nate Diaz. I think a guy like Nate Diaz will never be able to beat a guy like Jorge Masvidal because he's just too slow. He's just too slow. He's going up against that speed and that explosiveness of Masvidal. It's such a disparity. And I don't think a guy like that is going to be able to win the fight unless it goes to the late rounds. And that's what's going to happen here too. I think Conor is just going to be too much for Cerrone unless Cerrone can get this thing to the later rounds. And in this fight, if it's not the main event, because there's a chance, my understanding is there's a chance John Jones might even fight on this card, right? So if that's the case, it'll be interesting to see who they make the main event since John Jones is defending a title. I'm assuming John Jones might be the main event. And if that happens, then the McGregor-Cerrone fight only goes 3 rounds. But if it ends up being the main event and they go 5 rounds, I think that helps Cerrone more than it helps Conor. We've all seen how he sort of gasses after a couple rounds, especially having been, again, outside of the octagon for a while, selling his whiskey. Who knows what kind of shape he's in. So that being said, I do expect the best Conor McGregor. I mean, I do think he's a consummate professional, especially when it comes to being in shape and doing the right things to get the win. I think he's a very competitive guy. So I expect him to come in and be ready to bang it out for 3 rounds or 5 rounds or whatever it is. But it's just, I think Cerrone's best chances are if this thing goes to the entirety of the fight, to the judges, as opposed to, shooting his load early. Let's see here. Marco Martinez says, Conor's a question mark right now. It's been a long time since he dismantled Alvarez. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Muay Thai 23 says, I hope Cowboy dies in the octagon and doesn't get to spend a dime of the money. My goodness, Muay Thai 23. Why the hatred towards Conor McGregor? I didn't think it was, or towards Cowboy. I didn't think it was that serious. Marco Martinez also responding with, wow, that's harsh. What did Cowboy do wrong? And Muay Thai saying he drinks Bud Light. Oh my goodness. Well, if that's the way you feel about people that drink Bud Light, man, I'm really sorry. I think I've actually had a couple Bud Lights in my life. I'll just say a couple. And I didn't think they were that horrible. But I know what you're saying. That's pretty funny. Calculated risks, laughing at it. Chris Shanholzer, thank you so much for joining the chat. Much appreciated, brother. Hit that subscribe and bell notification icon if you haven't already. He said, I got my 59-year-old ass up in the ring yesterday. I gave myself an ass weapon. I think he says ass whooping. That's interesting, Chris. Were you fighting someone? Were you sparring? Let me know what's going on there. Muay Thai says, we don't have Thanksgiving in Ireland. What do you guys have there? Let me know what the big foodie holiday is. Thanksgiving is just an excuse for us to eat at this point, I think. But yeah, let me know what you guys got going on over there. Trump 2020. Oh my God. Says, what's up? What's going on, Trump? Thank you for joining the chat, brother. Marco Martinez says, I seen the card, and so far there's not another marquee fight on it. I know Dana works magic, though. My understanding is, at least the rumor, is that Jones might be fighting on this one. So we'll see what happens. Muay Thai 23 says, build the wall. Oh, my God. You guys are just ridiculous. Marco Martinez is asking me if I said if they're going to be fighting at 170 pounds. That's what I heard. I heard that this fight, if it happens, it's going to happen at 170 pounds. And so it'll be interesting to see, how they deal, or how Conor McGregor especially deals with the fight at 170 pounds. I'm not sure if that's going to be good or bad for his cardio if he's putting on more weight. I'd be interested to see what happens there. Muay Thai 23 says the loser of the McGregor Cowboy fight gets their son. Oh, God. Muay Thai, you're deranged today, my man. You're deranged. He says, puts their son in a blender and the winner turns it on. My goodness, Muay Thai. You'd think yesterday was Halloween with all this stuff you're talking about. Saul West says Conor ducking Gaethje. That could be the case. But, I think if you have the choice and you're Conor McGregor and you've been out the sport for that long, I think if you have the choice, definitely Cowboy's the safer fight than Gaethje, who's just a fucking savage, man. I mean, how do you even deal with a guy like Gaethje coming, from being inactive for over a year? How do you deal with a guy like Gaethje? I mean, that guy's a killer, man. And now he's really, reinvented himself as a fighter. He's still obviously got the heart and the tenacity and the crazy leg kicks and just the ferocity, right? But now it's more controlled. He's using technique. He's implementing movement. I mean, the guy's super talented, when he's not just throwing himself into the fire. And it looks like that's what he's been doing in his past couple fights, especially against Cerrone. He wasn't the same Gaethje that we saw in the past. He was a lot more calculated. So, I'd be interested to see how he would look against Conor McGregor. But I do think that Conor did the right thing by not going after Gaethje in his first fight back after a year and, what is it going to be, 3 months? It'll be a year and 3 months by the time he gets back. So, I mean, that'd be a bad idea to go after a guy like Gaethje. Calculated Risk is saying Cowboy is legit BJJ black belt. Hope he utilizes his BJJ game. That's very interesting. I'd be very interested to see if he does something like that because, everybody's expecting them, at least I'm expecting them to stand and bang. When I think Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone, I'm not thinking, these guys are gonna grapple. You know what I mean? So, but since Cowboy can, it'd be interesting to see if he does something like that. Although I don't think he will. I think what we're gonna see is a kickboxing match, a kickboxer versus a boxer. Because McGregor, I mean, he'll throw a kick here and there, but I think he's definitely more of a boxer. And I think somebody will get clipped. At least that's the way I see it. And I think more likely than not, it'll be Cowboy Cerrone. But it'll be fun while it lasts, is what I think. Calculated Risk says Conor has decent takedown defense, to be honest, but he gasses out after 3 rounds. Well, let's see if it'll even go beyond 3 rounds. Calculated Risk says if Cowboy want to win this fight, he's going to need to plan B or C, because Conor going to piece him up piece by piece for sure. For sure. You know, I don't think in the stand-up Cerrone is going to have any sort of advantage, especially when it comes to throwing hands. Maybe if he can, throw a lot of kicks. Maybe if he could throw a lot of kicks and, keep Conor far away, teeps, head kicks, leg kicks, mess with Conor's mobility, kicks to the body. I think that's his best chance. But I think if he goes in there and tries to scrap it out and gets into boxing distance with Conor McGregor, he's going to get lit up. And by the way, I just got a pretty interesting message, although I messaged him first, but I got a message right now back from Gerald Washington, El Gallo Negro, somebody I'd be excited to talk to. I have interviewed him on the channel in the past, and he's actually with Andy Ruiz right now, I believe, in Saudi Arabia. He's in the Andy Ruiz camp for the rematch against Anthony Joshua next week, so that's something we definitely got to touch on the channel soon. But just got a message from him. Looks like he'd be willing to talk to us post-fight, so that'd be really interesting to get his take on what happens when that fight does happen. Also, let me remind you guys, Fighters Rep 9, it's still a bit away, but it's going down February 28th live on the AIM Sportsplex. It'll probably be aired on Fight TV. So if you don't have the app, download it. If it's not going to be there, it's going to be right here on YouTube. Afterwards, you will be able to watch all our fights live. We'll upload them one by one to the YouTube channel. Let's see here now. Marco Martinez says, if Conor was to lose by decision in a close fight, what would the UFC do? Oh, man. The UFC's been getting along just fine without him for over a year. And so what would the UFC do? Keep being the UFC and keep being what I think is the best brand in all of combat sports right now. I think that's just what the UFC will do. I mean, let's think about it, guys. They just packed Madison Square Garden for a BMF belt, for a pretend belt. They just packed Madison Square Garden with 2 guys that, even though they're famous, are not even, neither one of them is even a champ right now. So the UFC's got some serious marketing power, some serious, momentum behind it. And I think if Conor McGregor never fought again, the UFC would just continue to grow. They've done a fantastic job building the brand. And, what can you say bad about the UFC? I mean, as far as their marketing and their branding goes, they're just doing it better than anybody else right now, if you ask me. So I think they're just going to keep killing it. Obviously, I think they would be better off if McGregor won, because he brings so much money to the promotion. But if he didn't, it would also be something for people to talk about. And, the UFC's got so many stars and so many more on the way, so they're just going to absolutely kill it. Muay Thai 23 says, we got Potato Holocaust Day in Ireland, where we dress up in rags and eat raw potatoes. Oh my goodness, Muay Thai 23, you're hilarious, bro. Calculated Risk, responding to Saul West, says it's very risky for Conor, or even for top contenders. Even it's dangerous for Habib, in my opinion. And that's Calculated Risk responding to Saul West, who said that Conor's ducking Justin Gaethje. So Calculated Risk in the chat, thank you for your opinion. He's saying the fight against Gaethje is very risky for Conor, even top contenders like Khabib, and I agree. Justin Gaethje is, he's a wrestling-based guy, and we never see his wrestling. But something tells me his wrestling's great, and this guy's got more heart and tenacity than anybody I think I've ever seen. Justin Gaethje is an absolute fucking animal. So, a guy like that who's now starting to add technique to his fight game and to his arsenal is a very dangerous guy. And I think Conor did the right thing by stepping in there with Cowboy as a sort of barometer. I wouldn't even call it a tune-up fight because Cowboy could clip his ass. But I do think that it's a smarter fight for Conor to take at this point than Gaethje, who's honestly probably deserving of a title shot right now. And I don't think Gaethje should be fighting Conor. He probably should be fighting the winner of Ferguson versus Khabib as opposed to Conor. I think Conor and Cowboy at this time is a pretty fair fight, I must say. Although I do have Conor winning. Let me see here. Muay Thai 23 says Cowboy's getting put out like a candle in the first round. I'd be very surprised if it goes out of the second round. And you know what? That's very possible. Assuming Conor's still in the same form we've always seen him at, or maybe better. Assuming he's ready for the fight and focused, Conor can definitely take Cowboy out in one round. I mean, he took Jose Aldo out in one round, so why not? That's definitely something that could happen. Calculated Risk says, yes, he needs to use kicking, maybe leg kick, but Conor's fast on the feet. Let's see. For sure, I mean, the only way that Cowboy Cerrone is really going to be able to compete with McGregor as far as the stand-up goes, you guys, is using those leg kicks or just using kicks in general, because he's nowhere near the athlete that Conor McGregor is. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the explosiveness. He can hurt Conor, but he's going to have to use his legs, not his arms, and he's going to have to be at that kicking distance. Marco Martinez says, I think this fight comes down to how well Cowboy can work a clinch game, put Conor up against the cage and dirty box. That's another thing that can really help Cowboy. But again, I just don't think he has the explosiveness or the strength, really, to do that kind of thing to Conor. But we'll see. And Marco Martinez saying Cowboy will be the naturally bigger guy. Yes, he does have the height advantage. He's 6 feet tall, is my understanding. But let's not forget, Conor has a longer reach. So he's the biggest guy vertically, but I don't think he's the bigger guy horizontally. And I think that matters as well. Calculated Risk says Conor ain't going to lose on points. Muay Thai 23 says, you think Cowboy is going to get to clinch with McGregor? LOL. Looks like Muay Thai is laughing at the proposition that Cowboy clinches McGregor. We'll all just have to wait and see. I do think, honestly, again, it's going to be a kickboxer versus a boxer. That's what we're going to see. If it goes to the ground, I do think Conor's probably going to have the advantage. As crazy as that sounds, I just think he's a much better athlete, probably a better wrestler, probably been working on his ground game quite a bit as well. Maybe raw, just pure jiu-jitsu. Cowboy has an edge, but I think, at the end of the day, this is MMA. Punches can be thrown. There's ground and pound. And I do think Conor, being the superior athlete, probably will have a lot more advantages than we think. Calculated Risk says, that's why I said Conor's going to piece him up, and I agree. Marco Martinez says, we are underestimating Cowboy and overestimating Conor. We are assuming Conor has not lost any of his speed and timing. Well, let's see here. Conor McGregor is 31 years old, so he's still priming physically. And I would expect if Conor McGregor's getting back in the octagon, just based on how he's been in the past, he's probably going to prepare to the point of peak condition like he always has. And I don't think he's going to lose speed and timing. I think there might be some rust. So if anything goes, maybe some timing. but he won't lose the speed. If he's sparring enough, if he's been active enough, he might not lose the timing, although there's the chance he loses the timing. We'll just have to wait and see. That's why it's an interesting fight, and I think Marco does have a point there. We may be underestimating Cowboy, who's been very active, who's always very active, and we might be giving Conor more credit than he deserves. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, personally, I just think Conor McGregor's all wrong for Cowboy Cerrone. But it's a fight that I'm excited to watch just because it's two tough guys that like to bang it out. Calculated risk. Physically, yes, Cowboy going to be bigger size, but it's pros and cons at the same time, especially with high-level striker like Conor for sure. Joao Santos says, I think Conor will pick him apart with his front kicks and foot movement. I think it'll be too much for Cerrone fighters rep. I agree with you, Joao, and I appreciate you joining the chat, brother. I agree with you. You know, I don't think Cowboy's going to be able to handle that kind of speed, that kind of athleticism. I think he's always had trouble with that. Muay Thai 23, Nate Every Loss Diaz equals I'm not making excuses, but ... All right. Calculated risk says Justin has high peak pain threshold. He won't feel pain unless you sleep him. Yeah, I mean, Justin Gaethje's fucking barbarian, you guys. I mean, I don't think Conor would want to get in there with that. Also, I mean, the amount of pressure that he puts on his opponents, you know, that pressure style, man, that's an uncomfortable style to go up against. And while it's very draining on the person that's applying the pressure, it's also very draining on the person on the receiving end. And I have been in situations just like sparring and the like where I deal with pressure fighters, and man, it can be mentally exhausting. So I could imagine in a fight with everything turned up, as far as, you know, the pace and the crowd and the stakes being higher, I can imagine it wears you out even more in an actual fight. And so a guy like Gaethje, man, you have to be prepared in every way, shape, or form. Your cardio's got to be on point. You got to be sharp because that guy's just going to keep coming. That guy's going to keep coming like fucking Jason from Friday the 13th. And he's not going to stop. So I do think Conor McGregor did the smart thing in picking a guy who's a bit more technical and willing to kind of sit on the outside and take his time, as opposed to a berserker like Justin Gaethje. Joao Santos says, something tells me 14 months of layoff on Conor. He is and will going to be more. He is going to focus more on his condition, perhaps. Muay Thai 23 said, hey, did Ariel Helwani answer to the Schmo's call out? I don't know. You're the first I hear about that. I didn't even know the Schmo called out Ariel Helwani. But something tells me that Helwani will not want to fight the Schmo. Calculated risk, says Marco Martinez. You may be right. Conor hasn't won since 3 years. And we don't know how much he spent time in the gym. Also, we don't know how much whiskey he's been drinking, you guys. Muay Thai 23 says, calculated, he hasn't been in the gym much at all. You know, we don't know. We're gonna find out when he goes in there against Cowboy Cerrone. We are gonna find out. Joao Santos, calculated risk for me. He is still in his prime. He knows the issue earlier on in his fight career with his condition. So what Joao Santos is getting at in this chat is basically that Conor McGregor figured out his Achilles heel, which is his conditioning. And he's probably going to be working on that. Who knows? He may have spent this entire year plus on his conditioning, like Joao Santos is indicating. And, you know, he may be ready more than ever in this next fight. Again, he's only 31 years old. I mean, he's got a nutritionist. He's got all kinds of money. He's got all kinds of people helping him get to the level he needs to get to. Now he doesn't have to cut so much weight. He's going to be fighting at 170 pounds. You know that power is probably going to be even more devastating, going up 15 pounds. So Who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we might see the best Conor McGregor we've ever seen. Who knows? And he's got a good reach. I mean, even though he's moving up in weight, his reach is bigger than Cowboy's. So, longer arms despite being shorter. Joao Santos is saying big love from Portugal, by the way. Oh, man. Thank you so much, Joao, for tuning in all the way from Portugal. Joao, I was actually in Portugal last year. And I must say, what a beautiful country. What a classy bunch of people. I loved Portugal. I got to go to, where was it? I went to Lisbon, and I also went to Fatima. And I just thought it was just a lovely place. I loved the way it was all on the Mediterranean. I took tours. We walked around. Just a beautiful place. Fantastic weather. I mean, I'm here in California right now. It's a little bit cold for me. But we have a coast and nice stuff like that too. But it's definitely not as well kept, at least in my opinion, as Portugal. Portugal was just so clean. It was so nice. The people were so nice. I loved it, man. I loved it. You're a lucky person to live out there. Let me tell you, it's really nice out there. So I'll leave it at that. But thank you for joining the chat, man. I really appreciate it. Calculated Risk says, Joao Santos, let's see how he improved. Joao Santos says, I hope he did. So it sounds like, you are a Conor McGregor fan, Joao. By the way, Joao, I wish I would have known you when I went out to Portugal, my man. Maybe you could have recommended some good places for me to eat. I felt like I was kind of lost when it came to where to go to eat. But I'll probably go back there at some point. And Spain, too. I really liked Spain. I went to Spain as well during that trip. Calculated Risk says, Muay Thai 23. He looks in shape. Maybe he is on diet, but cardio-wise, I'm not sure about Conor. Calculated Risk says he agrees with Fighters Rep. Thank you so much. Alcohol and MMA can't go along well, even in boxing. But let's see. Because we don't know. Maybe he's just been selling it. We don't know if he's been drinking it. Although when he punched that old man, I thought that was a little bit ridiculous and may have been indicative of somebody with some sort of problem, right? I mean, you don't punch old people, unless there's something wrong with you. Especially in that situation, it didn't look like it was necessary at all. That old man did anything to, to deserve that. So it wasn't warranted. But anyway, Joel Santos says, "Hell yeah, Fighters Rep. Hope you like the time you spent in Portugal. I hope UFC comes here to build their empire." I'm sure they will. I'm sure at some point they'll come there, or Spain, or somewhere nearby. But yeah, I would definitely, man. I would definitely love to go back. What a beautiful place. The whole place was on the Mediterranean. The people, again, were so nice, like just chill people. Not like super nice, but just, or in your way or in your face or anything like that, but just like totally, it was just very like chill, and I loved the weather and good wine. That was a good time, man. That was a good time. Muay Thai 23 says he has been bouncing around from gym to gym, keeping in shape. He has been doing little MMA training. Muay Thai, how do you know this? Muay Thai, how do you know this, brother? You got some sort of inside scoop? Being from Ireland, Joao Santos says, I would, brother, surely. Thank you. Thank you, Joao. I really appreciate that, my man. So Muay Thai 23 says people don't really like him anymore in Ireland. I mean, he did do something stupid, but I mean, what is it that's making people in Ireland no longer like him? Because I mean, he changed the game, whether people like him or not. The guy changed the game, and he changed it for the better. And of course, he said some stupid stuff, and I think he went a little bit over the top at times. But I wonder why people don't like him anymore. Calculated Risk says, responding to Muay Thai 23, says, yeah, I think he's been around the gym, but not serious training. Wow, so Muay Thai 23 is saying, I train in SBG. So Muay Thai, you train at the same gym as him. I mean, have you ever sparred with him? Do you see him around? That's pretty interesting stuff. Calculated Risk says Conor needs good people to be around him. Otherwise, people are going to rub him in a wrong way. I think he's a fantastic fighter. I just think he needs to get his head right. If he wants to fight, he's going to have to focus on fighting. It looks like he put a lot of focus and a lot of energy into that Proper 12 whiskey brand. And he's going to have to shift gears now and focus on the fight game. I mean, this is no joke, He's going to have to switch gears and focus on the fight game because, Cowboy Cerrone is no joke. And if he sleeps on Cowboy Cerrone, he'll get slept. So, I'm just curious just to see where he's at. He's kind of like a Tyson Fury to me. I never know where his head's at. Tyson Fury kind of the same way, right? He's doing the WWE thing now. People are saying, oh, he's just resting up, from boxing, making a little bit of extra money. But, when you kind of shift gears and shift focuses, sometimes it's hard to get back. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see if he has the ability to be eclectic like that and do a couple different things, or if it's taken away enough of his focus and effort and just his passion for the sport that he's just not going to be the same guy when he comes back. I'm interested to see that. Ivan Calderon, our social media guru, thank you for joining the chat, says, I'm 1% Irish. And as an Irishman, I can say that Conor is still loved. Ivan, did you do like the 23andMe, you little sucia, and find out what you are? You little tan-skinned Justin Bieber look-alike. Ivan, did you do it? Let me know. I want to know what happened. Joao Santos says, we can see from his Instagram stories, but he will be with his head coach, John Kavanaugh, and they are a hell of a team together, for sure. Muay Thai 23 says, he's barely been in training for MMA. He just does McGregor fast training to keep in shape and look good for pictures. Oh, yikes. Muay Thai 23, feel free to give up a little bit more information, brother. Let's see. Joao Santos says, no, yeah, I agree. If he comes unfocused versus Cerrone, he'll be knocked out via high kick. Oof. Calculated Risk. Laughing at Muay Thai 23. Muay Thai then says, he is nowhere near as loved as he was. You don't know what you're talking about. Muay Thai, don't listen to Ivan Calderon. He's just talking shit. He's an idiot. But he helps us on social media, so thank him for being a part of the Fighters Rep team. We love you very much, Ivan Calderon. Calculated Risk says, I've seen from YouTube that Conor fans even burn his picture after he sparked the old man in the pub. Damn. I mean, he shouldn't have done that, man. He shouldn't have done that, He's an idiot for doing that. But if I was that old man, though, I would have been like, after I got hit, I would have been like, hell yeah, I just hit the lottery because this guy's going to have to pay me all this money or else I'm going to sue his ass and get all this money. I'm not sure how that works in Ireland as far as civil suits and stuff, but I would imagine it's not too different. That if somebody hits you, maybe you can settle and, hey, here's a little money, don't press too many charges against me or whatever. I don't know. Ivan Calderon says 23andMe was having a Black Friday sale. I had to do it. Oh my God, Ivan Calderon. Hilarious stuff, you guys. Muay Thai 23 says Ivan looks like a Mexican cartel hacker. He basically is. He hacks in to our, social media outlets and he does all kinds of, crazy things. And but luckily he hasn't done too much damage. But we got a lot of love for Ivan Calderon, and he helps us a lot. But he is a little hacker. And Calculated Risk says he wishes he was the old man that Conor McGregor punched. Man, I would be like, Conor, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way, brother. What do you want to do? So, and yes, Ivan Calderon takes any sort of insult, especially if it's a perverted one, as a compliment. So, I know you guys are not used to that kind of thing, but that's what we got going on the social media with Ivan running it. But anyway, you guys, that's kind of all I've got for you today. Appreciate you guys joining the chat very much. If you're watching on the replay, hit that like, comment, share, subscribe, do everything all the good people on YouTube typically do. We will be back, I guess, tomorrow. Not really any huge fights going on tomorrow, but we'll be back. We'll be back live, and we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm thinking we should talk about that Anthony Joshua versus Luis Ortiz fight, or rather Andy Ruiz fight tomorrow. Definitely excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I still think, even with watching all the lead-up stuff, I still think that Anthony Joshua's probably going to be able to pull that one off. But we'll see. We'll see. Andy Ruiz might just have his number. We'll see. So anyway, you guys, thank you again. Appreciate you very much for joining the chat. And until next time, keep it clean, knuckleheads. See you.